Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to today's live broadcast of Speaking the Truth About Money with Martin Cowart and Joy the Wise Woman. I am both Martin Cowart and Joy the Wise Woman. Martin is my human name, and Joy the Wise Woman is my spiritual name. And I'm so excited about this particular broadcast because I've got another spiritual teacher and another person who believes so much in a mission, in a soul's purpose, in a North Star as I do. And that's what we connected on when we met a while back. And we thought, oh, wow, you got to come on my show and hear your perspective of how important it is that we live a life of mission and service in the world, and that we can clearly understand that. And that guy's name is Brian Bachand. Did I get it right that time?
Absolutely perfect, Martin.
Okay, it's Bachand. I'm getting there. I'm going to get that right. I'm so embarrassed. I misspelled his name on all the work today, and I always think that it just reminds me of my own humanity and how I belabored on something that really insignificant, but I had to own it and let it go, and I have. And Brian's been such a wonderful guest as to say, I want you to know you spelled my name wrong, but okay, we'll get it right. And he's been wonderful about that. And I just think it just creates part of the energy for this wonderful conversation we're going to have today. So Brian, thank you so much. He's the founder of Evolution. He was once a priest. He's been an executive. He's been a lot of different things, but I'm going to let Brian share a little bit of his story of how he got to be here as the founder of Evolution, what Evolution is all about. And maybe if you would give us a little bit of your story about what was life like before you realized how important it was to have a mission in your life and to live by mission, Brian?
Absolutely. First of all, Martin, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I love your mission. I love your platform and what you're creating with all your positive, communication and opportunity in the world. It's really, really beautiful. So it's a joy to be here with you in your community. And so, the life of Brian is, I grew up in Boston. After university, I went to the seminary to study to be a priest. I was a priest for 8 years, and I was very happy as a priest. To be honest with you, I knew I was loved. I knew I had a mission. I knew I was providing service. I served 4 years in a parish and 4 years as the private secretary or chief of staff to a cardinal from the Vatican. But it really comes down to one question, and the question was about, what do I desire? And when we ask ourselves in our hearts, when something's not feeling right, whether that's a relationship, whether that is a professional moment, it always comes back to our heart. Our soul is asking to be brought in a new direction. There's a desire within seeking something else.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where I was at that moment. And I just knew the desire in my heart was to go in a different direction, to no longer serve as a priest, but knowing in my heart that I could serve in the world in a different way. I also wanted to be able to love from my heart. I wanted to love another person, to stand in my truth as a gay man, to go forward, to bring that desire into fulfillment in the world. So I freely left, all on great terms, resigned. I went to New York City. I started an entirely new life as an executive in a place I fell in love with very much in New York. And I loved that. And my gifts of having served when I was a priest, but also tapping more deeply into the spirituality of who I am, not religion, but that deep essence of light and truth, is what started to evolve who I am, and to see how I was able to connect and bring that light into the world. That led me to Toronto with more professional growth. But then I hit another moment in 2019 when there was this other feeling that the role I was in, I was a partner in a company, it wasn't working. Like it just wasn't clicking. And I knew there was something else that was trying to come forward from my spirit. And I knew at that moment it was the time to take the courageous step to evolve even more, to start my own company called Evolution.
Wow. And tell us a little bit about what Evolution is all about.
Sure. So Evolution was founded on November 11th, 11/11, 2019. And who knew a pandemic was around the bend a couple months later? And so Evolution for the first couple of years, it's in a moment of evolutionary growth right now. It is focused on a lot of coaching and mentoring for leaders in particular. And that's been a huge focus. New CEOs, people who are looking to make a transition in their career, individuals that want clarity. Maybe they feel like I did, they were doing very well, but there was something inside that wanted to come forward. And so I've been hired to work with them to bring clarity, to help walk through the fears they might have, whether that's resistance about, oh, if I leave financially, how is that going to impact me? What are people going to think? In addition, it's led to working with a lot of their teams, which I love doing facilitation and going in to work with teams and a lot of public speaking. And right now it's being refocused as well a little bit to really focus on even more of the facilitation work, which I love doing. I think I'm probably the only person that loves walking into when things are mucky in an organization, because oftentimes I'm brought in because it's like, oh, we need to focus on a business plan, or we have an issue with the board and we need our strategy to help us raise more money. And that's great. But there's also, I come in there to really sometimes raise some of the other issues that are going on and to help bring that clarity, that peace, that ownership. So when you are aligned with the truth and with value, that is where you make the greatest impact.
I could not agree with you more. And I think the timing of what you and I are both a part of and we're leaders of is this movement to this higher level of consciousness. We're creating a new world order out of this unconditional love energy within us that's known as spirit, because we are spiritual. There is a field beyond our human mind, our confused mind, that knows exactly who we are. We're spirit. We're not Martin and Brian in these little bodies. We're so much more than that. We're so much more powerful than that. Actually, we are the creative love spirit that created everything we see in the universe. And if you can go into a corporation and you can help people see through that confused mind, both individually and collectively, then they can go into that higher realm of conscious and lead their companies from that place, from the heart. And that's how they're going to make the impact. That's how I'm interpreting your story anyway.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting. I never, ever imagined when the pandemic hit. I mean, I named my company Evolution. It's named twice on purpose. The first evolution is just that nod to the natural evolution as humans.
Right.
The second is the evolution that each of us are called to own, how we want to evolve, because we do have a choice in how we want to evolve, or we will allow circumstances to evolve us. And when the pandemic hit, I remember sitting on my couch one day as the streets of the city were empty. And I just remember thinking, I never could have imagined that the word evolution would mean more now than ever, because humanity is forever changed because of the pandemic.
Yes. Someone just wrote in, Michael, he's written in a couple of times, we are unified in spirit. Absolutely, Michael. We are spirit. And there's just one. Like Eckhart Tolle says, human beings, millions of humans, one being, one heartbeat, one creative heartbeat of the universe, which we are. There's so much power in that.
Absolutely. And Mikhail's comment is spot on, because it is, so often you'll hear people say things like let's say in a company or, where you work, oh, the energy is so negative, or when I go in there, I feel so down. That is, you are united. When you're in an environment, the energy of others, the collectiveness impacts, and that's on a global, it's on a family, it's in an office. And so, yes, and you want to be in the positive, not the negative. And when you're feeling that disruption, it's a sign to pay attention to it.
Absolutely, because that's I'm learning. I love that, and I'm learning how I've finally gotten over my resistance to the word manifesting.
And why was the resistance? What was the resistance?
Well, because the way it was marketed, it was like you'd see people in these sitting in these affinity pools, and they would manifested a affinity pool on the side of a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what manifesting is. We're always manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to pick up on what you were saying about energy. Everything in the universe can be explained by energy, vibration, and frequency. And it's just as simple. If an energy feels negative, it feels bad.
Mm-hmm.
If an energy, and it's destructive, and it closes the heart to protect ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But if an energy, we can't create from that place. We can't lead a business. We can't make anything happen. But with an open heart, when we feel love, when we feel the power of that creative, we feel the essence of our heart opens,
mm-hmm.
and we can create. So when your feet, but we need that negative energy. We can't just always live in heart space.
Right.
I think we have to have challenges come up that pull us back into the drama of our humanity for us to go in and hit that in some way, to turn it over and let go of that, to expand and to grow into the next level of positive energy. That's how we evolve. That's
mm-hmm.
my interpretation. So I'd love to get your thoughts about that as someone who has a company called Evolution. It's like the bad energy, the negative energy is not bad. It's just negative. It's just darkness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for us to evolve, we have to include both. We have to have that to bounce off of, is the way I like to look at it. What's your thoughts about that?
Well, first of all, yes, we're spiritual, but we're human.
We're human.
We're fully human. And so, we're going to have experiences that are going to impact us, whether that's a physical ailment. Look at the news like today, right? Look at all these amazing individuals traveling around the world. At Heathrow Airport today, I saw someone was in a line for 6 hours, because, imagine the frustration level that is bringing at that moment. You know what I mean? No one wants to be there in that. But those human experiences, grief, setbacks, whatever it may be, are opportunities to then tap into that spiritual side of us. That what are we to learn? How are we to move forward? And I think that's a really important distinction. And those are gifts. Those challenges are always gifts, whether it's a negative energy, a space we're in. What are we here to learn? Where is this trying to redirect us? And getting back to manifestation, yes, there's something that matters. If you desire to have an infinity pool and overlook the ocean, and that's something you desire and that's aligned with your values, that's beautiful.
Yes.
That's absolutely beautiful. But manifesting is all about the energy that we bring to it. And if we are in a bad energy place or negative, or we often think, people, if someone is always saying negative things about others, or you always have a negative mindset, that's manifesting more of that.
Yes.
You're going to attract more of it. If you're in a positive mindset and you're seeking to strive that energy is going to manifest more of that. And that's where people can get, confused. Manifesting is about being in the energy that is aligned with feeling good, align with your desire, and to bring that into the world as you want to live.
Yes. And now I'm going to add one more thing: mission. And the value of a North Star and a mission. Because that is how, for me, and that's why I call it a North Star, that is how I get back on track when I get lost out there in my humanness.
Mm-hmm.
When the world is not treating me well, I'm trying to make a decision, whether I do this, whether I do that. What I have to do, and my mission is to create a world of abundance and prosperity by showing up with love and gratitude, so the divine spirit can bring other people into heart space. That's my mission in the world, to create a world of abundance and prosperity. And so when I'm up against a decision to make, I have to look at myself and say, first I'd ask, is it aligned with that mission? It could be a shiny object. Oh, here's an opportunity to go make $1 million, Martin. but does it align with my mission?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what led me to go to Africa when in November. That changed my life when I met Abba Henry and moved even deeper into this place of heart. I got that deeper calling to come to Africa for his help. I mean, I just felt it in my bones. And here I was with somewhat of a struggling business, trying to get my coaching business off the ground, trying to reach out to executives and I work with who have money to pay me. And here I'm getting this calling to go help out a guy living in a refugee camp with zero money. And I thought to myself, well, where is it aligned with my mission? I'm creating a world of abundance and prosperity. Does that say that excludes my African friends who need help? Of course not. So I had to say no to my rational mind and say, I'm going to do this anyway because I've got a calling deep in my heart. It's telling me to go to Africa and meet this man. And it changed my life. And I think that's what we're talking about, is that yearning, that deep yearning. But that mission, when I was looking at it, was my guiding light. And then my intuition, that coupled with the Joy the Wise Woman, my spirit, is what guided me there and got me in that place. And I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think, well, first of all, thank you for sharing that, beautiful story. It reminds me of a great book for anyone that's seeking to be inspired. It's called The Surrender Experiment. And, it's a powerful book because it's all about this man it's about his business. And it was about being open to what came along his path. And that is very true. So yes, it's important to have intention of, like you said, I was trying to get my coaching business going and trying to build things out, and that's wonderful. But sometimes there are individuals, there are certain situations that are brought to us, and that is part of where we're supposed to spend our energy and our time. And look what it's done for you. I know there's so many beautiful things that you've done and built out from that. So I think it's really important to be open and to test that and see. But mission, every single human being, like the work that I do with a lot of the individuals I work with, many are very high achievers. And part of the work I do is to say, you have a mission beyond your work. Yes. You have a mission within that work. And I spend time to really help them craft something in 1 or 2 sentences about how do they want to live that mission, because we all have our values. We all have desires of what we want to do. And we have to own that. And we have to know what that is. And when you have clarity on it, it empowers us. It really, really empowers us.
When I know that mission in the morning, when I know that I'm here from a place of the soul, from my soul's purpose, God brought me into this human manifestation for a reason. And that's why I got to pay attention to that, because if I'm paying attention to Martin's human agenda to be a successful coach, for example, I'm missing something. I'm missing the wonderful opportunity to be a servant to the divine who brought me here in the first place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is so, that's at the heart of it all. And I think one of the things that's really important too is you have to own it.
You have to own it.
You got to own it. You got to own it. And that was something I struggled with. Like when I really, it's been an evolution. When I left the priesthood, and it was a beautiful, beautiful life, and it was wonderful. When I left and moved to New York City, I was very fortunate to land it as an executive and continued to grow quite strongly. I never denied that I had been a priest or anything like that, but I wanted to prove to the world that I was now this wonderful new person, and that I could, I was an executive and achieving and being there. But I think at the same time, when I started to found Evolution, I knew I needed to embrace that spiritual side into my work, because that's who I am. And I had to own that. And I continue to own it as it continues to go deeper, and what that means, and not to be ashamed of that, because it's powerful and it's a gift that I have. And so it takes time.
It is the gift that you have. And it is, and I can say when we claim that gift and we recognize that's who we are, and we find ourselves in that field beyond the mind, of unconditional love energy. And from what I'm hearing, and I would say for me, I don't really have a choice. I mean, I could live in hell. I could say no to God. I don't have time for this. I'm going to do something else. Or I could say, this is absolutely wonderful. And I love being a spiritual teacher. And I was walking the other day and I thought to myself, I've always known I would be a spiritual teacher one day, even though I was executive like you, working on I was a top producer in a Fortune 100 wealth management firm for a while with a big fancy office on Park Avenue. That was what my mother wanted me to be. And I got to that place, but it was like empty. And so I'm so much happier now that I have found myself in a room of unconditional love energy. And I have, and my life purpose, abundance and prosperity, is to bring everybody else in the world so they can all manifest millions of dollars to live their soul purpose.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And I just got taking my sort of afternoon walk with my dog the other day and thought, I'm a spiritual teacher. I am a spiritual, and I'm good at it too.
It's wonderful.
What a gift. What a wonderful gift that God has given me. And given you, and that's why, and that's one reason I wanted to come on the show, is just to have two gifters who are aware of our gifts and enjoy bringing these gifts and bringing other people into this realm so they can become powerful leaders and change agents.
Well, it's wonderful, as you were on that beautiful, blissful walk with your dog and enjoying the joy of sun and nature in the summer season, that you were able to recognize that, accept it, and be there.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for anyone who's listening that sometimes it takes a while to get to that moment, and I think that is the part of the evolution of the spirit and the human, that as you take those pathways in life, as you walk, that is where you come to embrace more deeply who you are.
Yes. Yeah.
And one of the biggest challenges or speed bumps on those paths are sometimes the self-doubt that we create of what are people going to think, and how is this going to be perceived? And that's certainly something that I think anyone who is being truly honest can relate to, myself included. But at the end of the day, when you embrace who you are and embrace that mission that is clear, that is just going to lead you in deeper freedom and peace. But it takes time. It takes time to get there.
It is an evolution and an evolution and a transformational process. One of the ways I like to try to help explain the process is the understanding of a caterpillar and a butterfly. The caterpillar and the butterfly both have exactly the same DNA. The only difference between the caterpillar and the butterfly is that the butterfly is aware that it was once a caterpillar. The caterpillar has no idea that it's a butterfly. So as a butterfly, and what I would say is humans, we know what it's like to be a human, but we don't really, until we experience it, know what it is to claim spirit, to be spirit of love. So as people, you and I we know what we are at a deeper level. We're spirit. That's that part of you. And I love the book Spirit Surrender Experiment. It's got a great new book out called Living Untethered. If you haven't listened to it, it's fabulous, by the way.
Oh, beautiful.
And if I remember, I got a great story about that book, by the way, too. It gave me chills when you mentioned it. But the is like we've got to go out and talk to caterpillars, reminded of our days of being a caterpillar, of our days of being human, our days of our lack of awareness that we've evolved to the place of spirit, and be able to have those conversations to call people into our world, and that's challenging sometimes, I think.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I think yes, there are moments that we all become from caterpillar to butterflies, and I think that there are also other parts of us as well that also become into butterflies later. You know what I mean? We're always changing. It's not like it's just like a one deal. And, I'm flying, I'm perfect now. No, it takes time. But sometimes I think, we have to also look back in our life that circumstances have an impact on that. our family upbringing, our work experience, something that was said to us. Those situations can sometimes hold us back to remain as a caterpillar and not to move forward. And that can be based in fear, it can be based in doubt or ego. And that's why I think it's important that when we may see someone struggling in that space, to be present, to bring that light, to bring that encouragement. In the end, it's up to them to own.
Yes.
But there is a mission there to help empower others, something that you're doing, I'm doing, and millions of others. The more people doing the work and helping to help others do that, whether in the corporate world or privately, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Because we all
One of the things that I like to remind myself is we don't blame the darkness for being dark, and we don't get mad at the darkness for being dark. We don't get mad at the caterpillar for being a caterpillar. Instead, we love it.
Yes.
We shine our light on that and say, I know what it feels like to be a caterpillar. I know what it feels like to struggle, to feel the fear of the future, to feel I've been there. I know, and I can hold that space for you as long as I need to love you into this arena when you finally get it. And it's through loving them. It's just purely through shining your light of love and holding that space for them to find their way into the light, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also, once they're in that space, to help take the next right action. As one of my favorite authors, Gabby Bernstein, always says, what's the next right action? I was speaking to someone just the other day, and they're talking about their wellness, their health, and they want to do this huge overhaul on their health, and just to feel their stomach is hurting them, et cetera. And they say, oh, July 1st is like my big transformation start. And I said, you need to bring it down. You need to bring that way down, because if you go in with this, oh, it's the day I'm changing everything. I said, I can guarantee you in like 10 days, you're going to be in a very tough place. Yes, the intention is to change and to move forward, to evolve, but every day make the next right choice. How am I going to do that today? How am I loving myself? How am I choosing to benefit where I'm at? That's how we grow. And
I love that. And I would say that particularly you said, how can I love myself more? Because I will tell you that I specialize in helping people who are struggling with money. And because and that comes out of childhood trauma. And if you're struggling with money, people don't often believe me, but I'll tell you, it's always a self-worth issue. It's always a self-worth issue. And the good news there is that if it's self-worth issue, the antidote to a lack of self-worth is self-love. So the simple thing to do is just turn around, look yourself in the mirror, look yourself in the eye from your heart and say how much I love you. I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. There's nothing you can't do. There's nothing, and you are worthy of so much. Just love yourself. That's based on that one commandment from the Master Jesus, to love your God with all your heart and all your mind and all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. And if we live by that simple playbook, dear, effortless effort.
Yes. Yeah, it's very powerful. It's very, very powerful. I'll share a quick story. Before I launched the company, things were not clicking as quick as I thought they were going to be, because I wasn't aligned. I wasn't in the right space. My ego was driving it, in a big way. I left the firm and I said, oh my gosh, I have to have this up in 3 months, and I have to prove, what I mean? All these things. And finally, some great wisdom was given to me. Someone said, Brian, no one is lining up like it's Apple waiting for you to launch your company. And it was very true. I mean, it really kind of put things in perspective. I was creating all of this. So I asked myself what I desired. And I desired 3 things: to travel, to be in a place I'd never been before, and to do a retreat. And so I went to Australia, and it was amazing. I have a good friend of mine. She lived there. I was there for her significant birthday. I'd never been to Australia. And I went on this 7-day wellness retreat in Queensland that really opened up my heart for what was being blocked in the company. And there was tremendous growth and a reconnect. It was one of the most, I'd have to say, the most powerful week of my adult life. But on the second to last day, they had this kind of very unique kind of option, to go to. It was this very interactive event. But at the end of the event, after 2 hours, it was very powerful. I was laying on the floor, and I just remember and this was very unusual for me. I started crying as everyone was laying down. And I remember telling myself, I love Brian. I will never, ever speak ill against Brian again.
That's beautiful.
Especially of how,
I gave you chills, dear.
Yeah, I did too. Even talking about it still gets me, because it was so powerful, because there were so many moments that we critique ourselves, I look this way. I want to look better this way. I think this way. And I remember laying there and saying, I will never, ever say a negative word against myself again. And it really was transformational. And I remember it was very biblical in a sense, like that story of Lazarus getting up off the floor and feeling like you had risen in a new way.
Exactly. And that is I love you mentioned that is the story, by the way, about Jesus raising people from the dead. We feel dead a lot inside. And when you experience that power of self-love that Jesus said, it's so just love yourself with all your heart and all your mind. Love that divine part of yourself. And the power of that raised you up back into life. Beautiful, beautiful. So let me ask you before we get right up here, one more thing, like you said, is what would you give someone who's still struggling, who's like maybe even listening to this saying they're just full of bull?
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure people are, because I'm telling you, if you've never experienced this, we're going to sound like woo-woo to a lot of people. And I know that because I know that. But what would you tell people who are listening and like, maybe I am really something more to me than just this, and I'd like to experience that in life? What would you tell them is that next step to get closer to their truth?
Sure. So if anyone is listening right now, if they made it this far in the conversation, they are here because there's something drawing them. And they're here for a reason. So that's first of all. If you're listening and you're not saying it, but there's a reason why you're here. Number two, keep it simple. And it's very simple by asking yourself the one question: what do I desire? Is it something that's going on in your life right now that maybe it's work, maybe it's a relationship, maybe there's a particular situation of something that you feel is blocking, whatever it is? Just ask yourself the question, what do I desire next? What would I really love to desire? And listen, go for that walk like you did with your dog. Sit quietly, even if it's just a minute. It doesn't have to be long. And just listen. Just listen. Mm-hmm. By asking the question, you're already changing your energy. You're already saying, I'm open. And it doesn't mean you have to have all the answers. That's where people get hung up. They think by asking the question, oh my gosh, how can I leave the law firm? I've been here 22 years. I have a mortgage. That's the rational brain. All you have to do is say, what do I desire? Listen to what's coming up. You don't have to have the plan. But the next right step is just to say, well, maybe I need to speak with someone. Maybe I need to set up a call with Martin or Brian, or maybe I need to go speak to someone I trust to just kind of talk about my finances, to saying, gee, could I make this move? It's about gathering information. Keep it simple and keep asking that. It's the best way to approach. And that is when the universe gets to work, because you've given the signal. I'm given permission here. I've given the green light. Now help me do that. One step, one question at a time.
I love that. That is beautiful, beautiful advice. So, Brian, if people want to get in touch with you, what is the simplest, quickest, and most efficient way for someone to get into your ecosystem?
Absolutely. 2 quick ways. One, please connect on LinkedIn. I love hearing from people there. Send me notes. Say that you heard the conversation here with Martin, and you will hear from me. You'll get a personal voice note back from me, and we'll be connected. Number two, you can also connect through my website. There's a new one coming very soon, but it's evolutionevolution.com. You can send me a personal message there as well. And I would love to hear from anyone, just to be connected and have you part of the community.
And I want to encourage anyone who's listening to this, do that. You'll be so glad you did, because I know, because I did it. And I'm so glad I did, because now he's a friend and he is a partner in this movement. And I'm so grateful that to have you in my ecosystem as a friend and as a fellow spiritual teacher. And it's just a joy. And if you want to, and I'm the same way, the easiest way to get me is I'm on all the meetings with Martin Coward. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you like to be, I'm there, and just reach out to Martin Coward. I also have a Facebook group called Financial Heart Space for LGBTQ plus business leaders and change agents. You can always come and join us over there. You just have to, ask to join, and we'll bring you in and ask you a few questions. And we'd love to have you in there. It's for the purpose of creating space for us to do our work and to do exactly what Brian and I are talking about today. So that's a special community on Facebook, a private community for the LGBTQ plus community to love and support each other into living these lives of mission and service. So I'd love to have you over there. And Brian, thank you again so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Hold on one second. Let me just close this out with one last statement. May love and prosperity prevail. Thank you for watching today.
Thank you so much, Martin.